Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening. We have a great show today. We have Alexandra Madison Weddings, aka Alexandra Woodlief, who is talking to us about her boutique wedding firm that's dedicated to providing a stress-free experience for your special day. They have experienced designers. She talks about how her business has grown, what it was like during COVID, and dives into all the details of weddings anywhere in South Carolina and beyond. So I hope you enjoy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. I'm Dr. Randy here with Dr. Tom. As always, great to have you here listening with us today. If you could give us a follow wherever you're listening or give us a review, we look at those. We appreciate those. And we have a great guest today. We have Alexandra Woodlief.
Yes.
And Alexandra Sebri Woodlief. Is
maiden name?
Maiden name Sebri. Is that, am I saying it right?
Sebri.
Yes. Okay. And you're a fellow Canadian, correct?
I am.
All right, tell us
Toronto.
about that. Toronto?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Born and raised.
Really?
But I love the South, married a Southern man, and here I am.
There you go.
Now with a new last name, Woodlief, with a great back colonial story.
So you don't have much of an accent that I've heard yet.
No.
You got rid of it?
No, I don't know what happened to it, honestly. I mean, I will say that, like, whenever I go back to Toronto, my friends and family are always like, wow, like, you're so Southern. And I'm like, am I? And then when I'm here, they're like, you know, you don't have a Canadian accent at all. And I'm like, oh, okay, well. I guess I'm a neutral girl.
How do you pronounce, like, pasta?
Pasta.
Okay, good.
Okay. Mazda.
Okay.
Gaz.
Gas?
Yeah.
What's that?
Some people say gas.
Oh, it's gas. Yeah.
It's gas for
Okay.
sure.
Gaz?
Gas.
I don't say, I say pasta. I say garage door.
Okay, yeah, you definitely have more of the
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But gas, like with a Z. Gaz.
Zed. There we
You know,
are.
it sounds like when it's with a Z.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, so. But I did have bagged milk, you know?
Oh, you
That's
did.
one thing
There you go.
in Canada that I feel like you don't have here.
That
Did you ever bagged milk? In the canister, you know?
I don't think we had that.
Could be
didn't
a
know
big
that was a
city
thing.
thing. I
We
don't
always
know.
got raw milk. That was a big thing for us. We'd
Okay,
have to
no.
sneak it in from the farmers. It was the big joke that it's easier to get heroin and cocaine in Canada than it is to get raw milk because they
Maybe.
crack down on it so much. Some guy from a farm would have to roll in the secret van and just give it to
Oh
us.
my gosh.
But it's amazing. Have you ever had raw milk before?
No, I can't say. I'll try it.
It only lasts for 3 to 4 days.
I can't have
max.
dairy.
Can't have dairy? Yeah.
In that way, yeah. So no, I haven't. But the bagged milk, I remember that as a kid. That was
a
like
big
a
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope other Canadians have bagged milk. Like I hope
I
that's
hope
not
so
just
too.
my family.
Just send us a message if you've had
That
baked milk.
and coffee crisp, and there's a couple, you know, delicacies over there that
yeah,
I
Mr. Biggs.
Aero bars.
Yeah.
Love it all. I have started seeing it trickle into the States. Kinder eggs used to never be here.
Yep,
Now they
I saw
are
those
in the
coming
store.
here too.
So, you know, the States, they're lucky to get those candies.
Right. You're welcome, America. All right. So you have a massive wedding business. I was looking at your
Thanks.
website and you have so many people.
Yes, I often get that. So I will say, yeah, we're based in Columbia, but we also have planners in Charleston and Charlotte. So we are, you know, around, you know, more than just South Carolina, I guess. We have 6 planners on the team that are, you know, typically people that have been with us for quite some time, you know, typically over like 2. We've had one girl with us for over 7 years. And then we actually have assistants or associate team members that are seasonal, and that's why the team looks so big. But we do typically have 12 other women on the team at a time per season. And that really helps us kind of do our wedding day function, you know, setup, breakdown, timeline management, vendor management. So, but we love it. It's really great. We actually partner with the university and we do a mentorship program. So a lot of these young women that you see are still in school, but they're with us with like a heavy training and they come in and they help us execute the days. So that's, you know, also a great way to discover if they want to stay in the industry. And then we've had a couple gals that have stayed on, grown, and actually, you know, become lead planners themselves.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So can you speak a little bit to the intern
Yeah.
dynamic? Because we've had several interns and I have them coming at me in all directions
Yeah.
right now, from the chiropractic side, from the
Right.
staffing side.
Right.
And there's always a fine balance between pushing them and training them a little bit, and then also just letting them be a student and just do what they do.
Yeah, I find that like one thing that the reason we started the mentorship program, so when I graduated from university, there really wasn't a lot available to me in terms of getting into the wedding industry. So I got a lot of no's. It was like, oh, well, you can like work for free for 3 years and then like maybe. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to eat? And so like, and that was after graduating. It's different when you're in school. Like I had already done a ton of work in an internship capacity, the way that it's supposed to be formatted. But after graduation, it was like I was looking for a job. And I was getting a lot of, no's on that, not a lot of opportunity. It was really hard to get into the industry. I actually ended up changing paths and going into marketing full time and public relations because I was getting a lot of those no's. But something that we do is the passion is there for the mentorship program because of that. So I've always loved teaching people and giving opportunity to the younger kind of age group and giving them kind of that real life experience.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Columbia Family Chiropractic, with 3 easy to get to locations, one in Forest Acres, which is by Trader Joe's, one in O'Neill Court by the DMV, and one in the Northeast by Sand Hills. You'll be sure to have somewhere near you. They offer a ton of services from corrective care, on-site digital x-rays, spinal decompression for bulging or herniated discs, dry needling for injuries, pediatric care, and a Class 4 laser. They accept all your major insurances. And if you mention this ad, you'll get a discount on your first appointment. Check out their website at cfc4health.com or Google Columbia Family Chiropractic. That's cfc4health.com.
So I started the mentorship program as soon as I launched the company because I was in Columbia. I knew that there was a lot of people at USC like myself. I had graduated from there. And when I moved back from California, I was like, okay, I want to be able to give this access to students that want to know what this is like. It's not just, the School of Hospitality and Tourism, which, I'm actually headed to go talk to the wedding planner class tomorrow, but the School in Hospitality of like tourism is really hotel focused. So it's really hotel focused, and you're like basically going through hotel training programs, and you're doing a lot of like club or hotel or serving, and there's not a lot of like the creative side. So like the planning side, for example, isn't something as readily accessible, probably because a lot of us are small businesses. And, how do you handle that on top of everything you're handling with your small business? But for me, I knew, for myself, like I was someone that really wanted to get involved in any company and in an industry, really, throw myself in there and get that experience before I graduated. And I knew there was going to be other people like that out there. So offering that program was super important to me, and being able to give back and to give them like a real life experience of like you're in this, like you're not just going to get coffee, like you are creating client files, you're helping me with layouts, you're helping me with vision boards, you're also on the wedding day, you're servicing clients. Mainly we look for people that have customer service background or something that, they would be speaking to, another client, and being able to be in that type of industry where they can also be quick problem solvers. I feel like it gives you like a ton of life skills anyways. But what I find with the interns because a lot of people actually ask me how we build the program, is structure is so key. So we've actually, over the last 7 years, have been able to build this amazing structure format. There's a full day of training. Then they, get to meet the team. They're broken up into their respective team sections, whether it be planning team or marketing team. And then they have different mentors in that from basically the lead planners or the older girls that end up staying. There's mentorship built into that so that they can then, have someone maybe in their age range to relate to and kind of say like, okay, how did you do this? We have a bunch of training modules now that we have recorded that they kind of watch, and they get kind of the whole background. And then it's a lot of repetitiveness in what we do for our work. So them becoming, familiar with a schedule, and then they feel like really aligned, and they feel like, okay, I'm doing something, and they know what they're doing, and they know, what their work is and what has to be done, and all of that jazz. So that's kind of how we build it. I will say that, with that, there's usually what I tell them is like, this is going to be a priority for you. Yes, school is a priority. Probably just school is a priority, that and us is a priority. Like there's not really room for someone to come and do multiple jobs or multiple internships or, have a bunch of other club activities. A lot of our women are actually from Greek life, so they definitely have a balance, but they definitely come in understanding like, okay, this semester is going to be pretty intensive for me. And it depends, it ebbs and flows on like what semester does better than others, but structure is definitely key when building those and having kind of a formula for it, I find.
And probably showing them how to dress better.
We do have a dressing guide.
Because that's something that I run into all the time. It might be easier as a woman to say that to another woman.
That's true.
It's easier for me to say that to a guy.
That's true.
But what does it look like when they walk in super casual, super unprofessional, their hair doesn't look good?
Well, okay, so I will say that at that onboarding training day, we kind of go into that. One of the things that I tell these girls is like, if you're showing up to a wedding day, I just want you to remember that this is probably like the nicest event that this couple is ever going to dress up for in their entire life. Like, never probably will this bride ever buy a more expensive piece of clothing to wear again in her life. Maybe, but probably not. And, you're spending thousands of dollars on your wedding dress. And so I remind them on that level, like how dressed up it needs to be. And then I go into like my loathe for guests that decide to wear a flannel shirt to the wedding. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like, and I sit there and I'm like, sir, like
tucked in or
what?
untucked?
I'm like, sir, what is your nicer event that you go to that you decide to wear more than the flannel?
What's your nicer
what's
look?
What's the level up for you?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like what? So I kind of get like on a level with them where you can kind of understand like the importance of dressing up and also reminding them like, yes, like we are fun loving, but this is also an office. And if you want to prepare yourself for after college, how are you going to present yourself and carry yourself in the office? And yes, we have a dressing guide with little girls and like what they wear. And, we talk about
really?
this.
Yes and no?
No, there's
like,
no yes and no.
Is like ripped jeans a big X through them?
No, I don't even put the nose on there. I just put the elevated like mood board of like, this is what the office chic could look like for you. And then I'm like, you can wear pants, you can wear dresses, you can wear skirts, you can wear boots. If you want to wear a fashion sneaker, okay, I'm here for it. But like, how are you dressing it up? Right? Or if you want to wear a jean, okay, I'm here for it. Like we love a jean, but are we like putting a heel with it? Are we dressing it, like thinking it through?
Yes.
And are we like, as we all know, like the crop top, midi tops are so in right now. And so is a nice looking biker short. But you don't want to see me in a biker short walking around your wedding day. So I don't want to see you walking around in a biker short on someone's wedding day, So that's kind of how we talk about it, basically. And it's well received. I mean, they're like, this is probably one of their first professional things they have to dress up for. So most of the time, since we are mainly women based, just by chance. And that, they're excited to do that too. They understand kind of the assignment, if you will, most of the time. Yeah.
That's good.
Nice. Like, so what got you into wedding? Like, did you know going into school you were going to do weddings?
No, not necessarily. So I will say that I originally wanted to do broadcast journalism. So I wanted to be a news anchor. I did all my diligence. I did a shadow project. I stayed a whole summer at, a whole station. I learned about that. I was really excited. To reverse that, I originally wanted to be an actress. So I wanted to be on stage. And so my mother put me in a ton of different, Broadway things and like summer camps, and I was loving it, thriving. I realized then that I was not getting casted for any major roles at this point in my life, in my young self. And I was realizing that I was always like part of the chorus. And I was like, what does this mean? Like, why am I not the star?
Why am I the tree?
Yeah. I'm like, why am I like the side girl in here? So when that happened, and then I like went to my stepfather at the time, and it's comical now, and I was like, I want to be an actress. And he was like, you being an actress is the equivalent of making money with underwater basket weaving. So no. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, is that how it works?
Just crushed your dream just
like,
in one sentence.
I was like, all right, pivot. Like, what am I going to do? And I was like, all right, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to act on TV as a news anchor. Duh. I can have this passion still. I actually still want to be a news anchor.
Nice.
But I went to the station, and at the station, they were like so miserable. They were like, I walked in, and I think it was like day one, and like I was interviewing some of the anchors, and they were like, change now. You don't want this life. Like it's so depressing. Like you have to move every 3 years, and you can't have a family, and you have to start at the bottom, and you didn't know we're gonna end. And I was like, oh my God. And like as a senior in high school, I was like I was like very like kind of just didn't know. I didn't know at this point now, and I was like, okay, well I've already said what my major is going to be. I'm already going to be in this journalism school. Like maybe I won't do broadcast. What's the next best thing? Like where can I like act and talk to people still? And then I was like, oh, I can be a PR representative for companies and like pitch, like, so I went into public relations from there. And I was like, okay, public relations has got to be my passion. And it was for a long time. I mean, I went into marketing, I went into public relations. I did that after school. I set those goals for myself. I ended up moving to California, lived in LA for a bit, worked for a fashion e-commerce company because I was also interested in fashion, did public relations, PR events. This is when like blogging became big. This is when, celebrity appearance events became big. So we had a couple celebrity events for like Nordstrom and stuff like that. And then that was kind of fulfilling me, but I still kept getting drawn back to events. And I had in public relations, I was planning events. When I was in school, I was doing nonprofit events for like gala planning, all that kind of stuff, large conferences. I was enjoying that. And that was around the time where I tried to get into the wedding industry and I got a big no. And so I was like, well, I'll just continue on my public relations journey. So I kept doing that, and my passion was still there for events. I just have always loved events in any type of scale. My mother used to throw these extravagant birthday parties for me that I thought were really cool. We had like Nutty Professor party, and we made slime. We had spa day, and we had tarot card reading. Then we had like Moroccan birthday, and I was like, wow, like I just thought that that's what parties were all about because like my mother had done these extravagant things, and I was like, oh, like duh, like everybody lives like this. And so I was like, I want to do this for everybody. And so I just kept getting drawn back, and I ended up dabbling a little bit when I was on the West. I ended up working, a summer for a lodge and resort in New Mexico. And I ended up, working with another planner on the side who did these amazing, huge scale Persian weddings. And it was just like incredible to see that. And I was just like kind of feeling like this was kind of my passion still. And it just kind of started to evolve. I had always collected Martha Stewart magazines. I had always, loved, the idea of a wedding. Some people, I always joke and tell people, because I'm still in weddings, like I feel like I'm in this like mirage, like where I just keep reliving like weddings over and over again. But like my other friends over here, like having babies and like, like building homes. And I like turned to them. I was like, my goal in life was to like get married. Like my wedding was my ultimate dream.
Yeah.
And like now I get to live that also every day. Like, so I have really enjoyed finding my passion and growing into it, because it really doesn't feel like work on an everyday basis, and you really don't turn off in this industry at all.
And so May 18th is your 5-year wedding anniversary?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, I think it's actually going to be the 6th this year. If it is
Sixth year?
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. That's
2020?
amazing.
No, I was a 2019 bride.
2019. So that would be 6 this
Yeah,
year.
okay. I was gonna say if it
Oh, yeah,
is
yeah.
the 5th, I tricked my husband last year to getting me my 5-year anniversary gift. So if I can get that again, great.
Was it nice?
Yes, it was nice. I'm the person that looks up like what gemstone you get this year. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this year is wood. Just kidding. What's the gemstone of this year? Like, I don't want anything made out of wood.
Don't say anymore. My wife listens to this and it's going to get expensive.
There's a lot of different categories you can look at.
So you got to basically get married 1 year into starting your business.
Well, we started in 2017.
Okay, so 2 years into it.
Yeah. So I started to dabble in 2017, and the way that worked is I ended up moving back from California because of an opportunity to get into the industry through a very great friend, mentor who introed me to the side of catering, basically. So this catering company also wanted venue assistants, and so I came back and I was like, yes, here's my in. I'm coming back, but I'm definitely headed to Charleston. I was like, this is a pit stop. So I ended up coming back to South Carolina, and I just missed the South as well. So I was like, okay, anything to get back to the South. So I came back. I ended up starting up with this, kind of dabbled in, venue management, learning a little bit about that, learning about catering and all of that. Sorry, my hair is so slippery, I've noticed.
So smooth.
You guys don't have that issue, I see. It's just me. So I ended up getting into that. I was loving it, but it was exhausting. I realized that part of the service industry was definitely not for me. It was, the people that are in catering, there's a whole another level of appreciation that we should have for them because of the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into that part of the industry. So that in itself was very draining. And I realized that I was like, maybe the event industry isn't for me. And so I pivoted after, some time, and I ended up going back into marketing, believe it or not. I ended up doing marketing for the now South Carolina Ballet and was there for about 5 years. And I loved it. And I loved being in the director role, creating. I love graphic design. So I loved, growing that marketing platform for them, growing all their platforms, creating their ads, doing ad sales. I mean, it was an all-encompassing job as it is a nonprofit. And it was a wonderful time in my life to do that. And it was really allowed me to kind of build probably a little bit of structure for how I build the company now, in addition to my other corporate job that I was in California with. And that was important, I find. It's not like I just jumped in to a small business format. So that really gave me quite a bit to grow off of. But while I was at this job that after a couple of years went by, this twinge of still wanting to do weddings came back up. And I started to get random referrals for just day of coordination. And I was like, oh, why not? What's a weekend here and there? You don't work weekends in the job I was working. I could do someone's day of management. And what turned into 5, then started to tumble into 10 and then 20. And then it just kept dominoing. And by the time it started to get kind of aggressive, I had to make a choice. Was I going to stay in my role, or was I going to go ahead and maybe take the leap and, potentially try this small business on my own? And I had a really supportive husband that, really saw the talent, I guess you could say, that was coming out of this, and the passion that I had for it, and, was able to, we had discussed and we green-lighted it. And so I ended up, leaving the ballet after, 5.5 years, and really launched into, what I'm doing today. And it, although, it slow started in 2017, I would say it started to pick up in that 2019 phase more aggressively. And that's when I had to have that kind of thought of okay, what is the plan here? And then COVID hit. And what's crazy is that was such a wild time that every bride had to postpone. And that was 30 brides of ours had to postpone. And then because of COVID and this like postponement and booking up all the next dates, brides who were newly engaged started to get a little crazy, and they were like, everything is getting booked. I must book now too. Like, and it started to be this early booking, which you hadn't seen before, like that aggressive 15-month out booking. And so then that started to trickle in. And then like the business was just like massive. And I think that year is when we launched into our 60 wedding a year kind of deal. Wow. Like I think we were in like the 50 to 60s in that, like as we were going through COVID. And I was like, whoa, like we need a bigger team now. And our OG intern was a gal that I had met when I started the mentorship intern program at the ballet, which, you know, I always had that program going. So I started that at the ballet, and there's this gal, and she, you know, Jessica, and she and I became really close. And I turned to her, I was like, do you want to like help me on one of these weekends? Like, you know, do you want to maybe like try this out? Like, do you want to be my intern here? And she was like, yeah. And so then we like kind of just started tumbling into this. And then that's when Parker, our like long-term lead planner to this day, who's amazing, like she joined in shortly after, and it was the three of us. And then I was like, okay, let's get this program going. So we started the mentorship program, and that's how we slowly started to kind of building block to where we are today. So it's been a wild ride for sure.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about the growing the business side of it. So you mentioned you do about 50 to 60 weddings. Is that current or?
Our team does do about 60 weddings a year, but keep in mind now, like we have 6 planners. So our planners, we've perfected and fine-tuned our process. So our planners don't do more than 10 weddings a year. So like each planner gets about 10 on their roster, which is like the sweet spot. So like, let's say you talk to another planner and they're more of a, like there's like a luxury brand planner. Maybe there's like a solo planner.
Yeah.
And they typically will also only do about 10 weddings a year. And that's usually part of the sales pitch a lot of the time, depending on the type of wedding you want. Like, let's say you want a luxury wedding, which is a whole nother category. And someone's like, I want luxury. And they're like, I need that focus from someone. And then this planner comes in and she's like, I can give you that focus. I only do 10 weddings a year. And that girl's like, wow. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah. So I was like, your planner also only does 10 weddings a year, but like your staff that you have on your team does 60 weddings a year in rotation. And like, I can guarantee you that one old planner probably did not experience last year's hurricane weekend, but I did. And I figured out how to handle it.
Right.
Or like the snowstorm that popped up, or like this crazy flash lightning storm, or, you know, flooding at this venue. Like there's a good chance I was there while this disaster moment, quote unquote, was happening. And our team has that consistency where like I'm preparing them to, you know, fight for the worst, basically, like to be the optimal problem solver. Like I've had a planner had something light on fire during a first dance. Actually, it was pampas grass, very flammable, from cold sparks, those cold flameless sparks.
Yeah.
You know, I've had that. I've had massive flooding at a ceremony site before. I've had a massive pop-up windstorm come through and knock like an entire bar and like stage equipment over. Like, how are we preparing for these disaster moments? And I was telling this to someone the other day. They were interviewing me, as a student was, and I was like, it's really about like having that experience like on a day-to-day basis. Like, how can someone train for that? You really can't. It really has to be like, have I been there, done that kind of, you know, and all our planners debrief after our wedding. So we're like, oh, Abby today had a fire during her first dance. How did you handle that, Abby? It's like, I screamed and then I got the fire extinguisher. Or I like threw, what did I throw on it? So like, it was, it's like moments like those where we kind of discuss as a team, like, what were the high crazy moments of the day, and like how did you handle it, so that we can then like think about that on our days when we go into it. But yes,
That's intense.
60 weddings a year is typically what we do, just because we have so many team members.
Right. And then when you mention luxury wedding, what's the price per person on a luxury? Like if somebody says, I want luxury, what price range are you saying?
Yeah, so a lot of times luxury, there's two different levels of luxury. So like luxury might be anything over 150K sometimes. Luxury might be something that's 350K up to 500K. Yeah. So like it depends on who you're talking to. But typically like luxury can start at 150, but a lot of times people might now, especially with inflation, probably not consider luxury until you hit about 350K. So that's like, but there's a niche for that.
And is that how many attend, like guests?
I mean, I would say like the average wedding in South Carolina, it typically is around 150 to 200 people nowadays.
Gotcha.
There's definitely weddings out there, don't get me wrong, that are like 300 or 500 people. And like, but those are like the ones where you're like, whoa, like I have a very large wedding under my belt. But the 150 to 200 is what I see like people reporting that they're wanting to have weddings on over and over again. And then the 350K is really the spend that they're having and up, which is really a lot of money if we think about it, like for one day.
I was looking at it earlier, and it was 33,000 was the average, but it was talking about luxury weddings up to $500,000.
Yeah,
and it blew my mind
and
that people are doing that.
I will say that like what I'm seeing, and I mean everybody's different. Like we have some amazing planners, even in Columbia, and we have some amazing planners in Charleston as well. And everybody has a different caliber, and like I have never like talked about budgeting on social media before because every single person is so niche and has so many differences. Like someone might say like, oh, like expect for your average guest spend to be $360 a person. Well, I don't do my pricing that way. So like I would never say that, but like that works for somebody else.
Gotcha.
Or someone in Charleston might be like, oh, you really can't have a wedding here unless you're spending 200K and up. And then what I hate about that is that then somebody who's under 100K, feels like they can't have their wedding in this place they've always dreamed of. And I feel like the industry needs to probably come together and have a better understanding. And also, side note, like The Knot, for example, reporting like the industry spend on weddings being like 35K. And like some of us are being like, what? Like, where did you do your wedding? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, but there are some weddings that do spend 35K. I've had weddings in a 30K budget. I've also had weddings in a 50, an 80K budget, 100K, and up. It really depends on, the person, the client, and the planner and client relationship on what they're saying. But I would never personally say, I might say, hey, if you have 30K today, you probably are going to have to cut a lot out. I would not say like you can't have a wedding. I would just say you probably need to cut down your guest list and you need to be really selective of where you're going, what it already includes for you, and who you're allowing yourself to book.
Right.
That's what I would say to them. I wouldn't say like, no, not going to happen. Try in a couple years. Sorry.
Save
like
up.
What? No, I would never say
more.
that. I think that when I got married, my budget was 30K. But like now, after inflation, what I'm seeing is, and after COVID, is that there's just so like people's prices have gone up, which they should. Mm-hmm. I think it's funny when I have parents come in and they're like, well, I didn't spend that when I got married. And I'm like, I know, but also like your groceries weren't that price also when you got married. So like things change, like prices go up. Like your steak didn't cost that at like old halls probably back then either. Right. The prices have to evolve with kind of the community. And I think the industry has a hard time with going up in pricing. So like the pricing in Columbia is cheaper than the pricing in Charleston. And Greenville, comparable, but also more expensive, and Charlotte. But it's funny to me when people come to me and they're deciding on a city and they're like, oh, I think I'm going to have to go with Charlotte because like I can't afford Charleston. And I'm like, it costs it's pretty much the same. Like, right. I don't think it's going to be much different for you. Like, you can have a wedding in Charleston if you want to. Like, let's talk about how we can make that work. So I usually approach it that way. Like, let's talk about what you wanted to spend, and I'll tell you what that is going to look like for
Like
you
what you
from
could
what I
get,
can
yeah.
see. And then you probably could spend more. You could probably could spend less. You just have to be willing to say like, okay, I have control, and like, I know I can't buy that, or I can't add that on, that kind of thing.
Yep. And like I got married 15 years ago and it was way cheaper. I'm one of those
I'm sure
guys.
it was.
But
Well,
when
wait, guess how much he spent on his overall wedding, dress included. I'd love to hear just like.
Do
just
you know?
Just tell her
Yeah.
how many people.
it was between 100 and 130.
Was it here?
No, it was in
Indiana.
southern Indiana.
Oh.
There was food
There
and,
was-
and drinks.
Was it at a church?
Yep.
A church was involved.
Was the reception at the church?
No, the reception was at a hall,
Okay. Gosh.
but it was a small town.
Oh, gosh,
Yeah.
she's gonna be blown away with
know.
this.
I mean, did you spend like 15 grand? Am I going to be that shocked? I mean,
Even
25?
more shocked.
More shocked.
5?
Lower. And this includes
What did you
dress.
get? What did you get donated? Stop.
I swear. Well, it
Did
was a
you
long
have a
time
flower
ago.
farm? Like,
Yeah.
did your
No.
grandma have a
He
flower
sewed
farm?
the dress himself.
So it was.
did?
It was no, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
But she borrowed. So she used her sister's dress though,
Okay.
and just had it like pulled in because her sister's dress was great. It was just under $3,000.
No.
We had,
Really?
we had just graduated chiropractic school, so we were
Right.
$450,000 in debt, and we had no
Normal.
money, and we're like, and we were getting married between graduating and starting
Yeah.
our job, and we had to decide what do we want to do. And my dad gave us $4,000 for our wedding, and we were like, all right, we got to figure out like what are we gonna do because we want to go on a honeymoon. So then we were
Yeah.
like,
Oh
all
my
right,
gosh.
So we were like, we're gonna spend all the money on our basically on a honeymoon, and we just did everything ourselves, made all the decorations ourselves.
DIY.
Got her pastor to do the whole thing for us. Her mom made the food for it.
Wow.
My uncle was the bartender. He went to Walmart and just got stacks of booze and was the bartender. The DJ was her sister's friend, and he did a good job too. Which it was
Creative.
like, yeah, it was.
Did you have photos? Like,
They're not
maybe
not the
disposable?
greatest. It wasn't. It was.
You got it disposed at
It was her.
Walgreens.
She called it a shirt coat cousin. Do you know what that means? It
No.
was like, I guess he does like photography.
Oh, on the side.
And yeah. And I was like, well, I have $0. In fact, I have so much debt,
we
no
need
one
one
would even loan me
picture.
$1. So if you could take the photos, that'd be good. And he did. And it's funny because my brothers and my two cousins, we went out, we took them out and we got like tons of photos and we were
Right.
choreographing and orchestrating it. And then it like, my wife's side didn't get
Oh
nearly the
my
photos. So
gosh.
our photo book is mostly me.
You know what this sounds like to me? It sounds like you want us to plan you an anniversary
A
party.
second
Yeah.
one. Oh,
Needs it.
that actually. Well,
The
because
dream that you wanted originally.
people just get married later now, I think, than
They
they used
do.
to.
Yeah.
Because when you're 22 or 23 and you're getting married, you just don't have that much disposable income.
Right,
but if
right.
you're 28 or 29
You
and you're both 28 or 29, then you've had 5 or 6 years in the workforce.
and when you're young, you're kind of thinking like you're 23 and you're like, am I ever gonna have more money? Like, am I ever gonna
For
get
sure.
there? And then like 28 rolls around, you're like, remember that day I thought I was gonna have any money? Here I am.
Yep, let's get the nice cake. Let's add more people. I think that's just kind of how it worked for us. But it was great. I mean, it was still fun.
Memorable day.
Tom was up there.
Yeah.
And it's really about the day. I mean, it like social media and Pinterest and, you know, all of these publications, like there's been this huge growth in what we care about nowadays. Like we care more about special details like custom matchbooks and napkins and branding. And it's a lot about branding. And I will say that I love that. You know, I mean, I'm in with the times. Like I love that stuff. But I know that that's not something people used to do ever before. Or second dresses. Like everybody wants a second
Yeah.
dress now. You know, again, not something you would normally have seen.
a second dress.
Yeah. I mean, I
That's
will say,
insane.
I'm not
Midway through, you
gonna
changed.
lie. I had 4 at my wedding. I know.
What?
It was great.
like a warm-up
I
dress.
had like a.
Yeah, but your cleavage dress and then your short dress and then
I
your
had
long
like
tail
my
dress.
my ball gown dress, and then I had like my tighter dress that I
Yeah.
wanted for like my dancing. And then I had my exit dress, which was feather bottom. And then I had my after party dress, which was like a midi, like
Wow.
V-neck. I mean, I went to town on the dresses.
Wow.
I felt like I owed it to my friends. They were like, of course
To get
you
to
would
see
have
you in all those.
four.
I mean, I like that from a wedding planner standpoint. That's
was
what I want my
fun.
wedding planner to do.
To wear 4 dresses.
Yeah, just to
at
be
the
like
wedding.
to be so over the top that I've never heard of it before.
Yeah. And I think that, with social, with the like push, like there's so much out there. Like I often see people like changing their mind or wanting this or da-da-da-da. And it's like, wow, like there's so many things you can do
Right.
to make your wedding amazing. But also there's so many things you can do, back to the budget thing, that are not over that $350 to $500K price, that you can still do that to make your wedding look awesome.
Yeah.
Like I often have people be like, oh wow, like I was looking at your Instagram and like your weddings are like beautiful. And like, I just thought like that would be like so out of my price range. And I'm like, no, actually, like it's all about like these angles, like, and what are we investing in impact pieces?
Right.
Like I usually tell people like, what is your impact piece that's going to wow your guests? And then that's what they're like mesmerized with. Like, it's not like every single little detail that's like, you have like Italian imported sage tied into every napkin. Like they might not notice that.
Right.
But like, are they noticing like this one floral install that you're having them come into, or this one cool activity? Like maybe you have like a custom espresso martini bar with
Like
like
a
your
swing
face
set.
etched on it or something.
Have you
like
seen
on the
swing
top.
sets at weddings before?
I've seen it, and I've
Yeah.
not had the opportunity to have one.
I've been to
I
one.
love that, but
Or a big ice sculpture.
have. Actually,
so cool.
this December had an ice sculpture with their monogram, and it was like a luge, and the espresso martini went down, and you.
Talk
out
to
of
me
it.
about that. Everybody's putting their mouth on the same.
No, it went into the glass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, it wasn't, true.
A true like
true
ice
old
luge,
kind, yeah.
Like
You wouldn't do that.
oh god, we used to have like the fraternity. We would get like an ice luge, and everybody was just. I was
Yeah.
like, oh god, no.
You've done.
I mean, you
were in
didn't think about
Canada.
it
You've
then,
done that before. in
but now
Canada.
you think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Canadians are wild.
All right, I've got a segment that I want to call. I think I want to call it "Wedding Hot or Not."
Oh.
You remember those days? The
Oh,
hot or
like
not
this or
days?
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and I have 4 scenarios.
Okay.
Sternly telling your mother-in-law she's not allowed to make decisions about your wedding.
Oh. Am I supposed to say hot or not?
Yeah.
Like hot being like do it and
Yeah,
not being
yes.
don't do it. Okay. I would say not.
Not
Just because you want to keep that peace. I mean, you have to be together after the wedding.
letting your friend take over the microphone from the DJ and hype up everyone on the dance floor.
Not. I actually, that's where you'll see pictures of me swooping in to grab that microphone.
You would have tackled Tom at
See,
my
that's
wedding.
what you missed at Randy's wedding. I thought they hired me to rap.
My family's like, who is that guy with the microphone? All right, not showing up to someone's second wedding because you went all out on their first one and now you don't like the second person.
Oh, dear. I've never had that scenario.
Or maybe I would choose
Would
third or fourth or fifth wedding in there
Oh,
too.
dear.
When do you stop going?
Yes, that's what some people are just so bad at marriage, they have to stop after a certain number.
I actually mentioned something like this to the gal yesterday I was talking to. I was telling her that really think about who you're inviting to your wedding and like, is this a longevity friend, right? And like, because let's say you're engaged for 2 years, you could totally not be friends with that person in 2 years.
Right.
There are people from my wedding that I find that I maybe have lost touch with now after 6 years. So it's like, will you remain? Is this a longevity friend that you feel like you can be? I think it depends on that, if it's hot or not. Because if you as a couple are not friends with this person anymore that you would invite to your 5th wedding, at that point, hopefully you're going to Vegas. But, you just don't even do a
You
wedding.
should be. That's my take.
But, if your couple, like as a couple, you're not friends with that group, you're that friend anymore, that they probably shouldn't be on the guest list that many times. But if it's like a best friend and it's like a maid of honor 5 times in a row, then she's going to continue to support to
So
the
you're
day
saying
of death.
sometimes hot, sometimes not
Yeah,
hot.
I'm in like warm.
Neutral.
Smashing the wedding cake in the groom's face.
This is tricky. You should definitely pre-discuss. I always ask this when I do the cake cutting
Yeah.
prep. So when I do cake cutting prep, it's really interesting. So like I'll go in and I'll do like the silent slice, which is like the slice inward so that the couple can cut side to side and it's like an easy pull out because like you've seen the struggle with the knife before.
Yeah.
It
Wait, I don't
makes
understand.
An awkward
I don't
moment.
understand. You pre-cut it where they need to cut?
I don't pre-cut because I would ruin the tradition, but I silent slice. So what that means,
It's with a knife. It looks like a cut, but it's not called
and no
a
one
cut.
sees where it is. It's the
silent.
down cut because nobody down cuts for you. Because first of all, never cut on the top tier, always the bottom because like that's not where you
Yeah.
cut. But the bottom, so I go down like this. Into the cake, okay?
Okay.
Stabbing.
And then you with
A stabbing
you
motion.
as the
So
couple.
instead of cutting, you're stabbing it
I
up
go
and down.
The silent
where
stab.
where the tier kind of creases, right? Go down, like kind of like a pillow.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then you as the couple go in and you go boop boop. You side like
Yep.
the sides, and then it pulls out a perfect rectangle for your cut, and you're not like,
Gotcha.
why isn't it coming out? Because you're not cutting in a triangle. There's no point to meet.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
You're
I
cutting
see.
straight. So I have to go silently down before you get there. And then it just slides out like butter.
Now, do you mark it on the cake like somehow they know where to cut?
Yeah, there's like 2 little indents.
2 little things,
Yeah.
okay.
And so then I come up and I'm like, okay. And I like teach them how to do the thing.
Yeah.
It's like a whole little thing. And then I'm like, all right, don't forget, kiss for 3 seconds because they always kiss super fast and then there's no photo.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the photographer's
don't
like,
be
wait,
weird
wait.
but don't be
Let's
weird
make
making
this
out.
moment again. And I'm like, let's not.
Don't get
Do this again. Let's do it right the first time. So 3 seconds kiss. And then clink the glass and I always say, do you want a fork feed or finger feed? And then they look at each other and sometimes they pre-discuss and they're like fork feed because that means there's no smashing.
Right.
If they finger feed, that means they're open to it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're saying I want a finger feed, like I'm picking it up and putting it in your mouth, which some people do, then you're opening the door.
Right.
Now, most couples pre-discuss, and they're usually like, just remember, I can smash you, but you can't smash me. People will say that when I'm there in this moment.
Yep.
But I have had it once before, way, way, way back when, so I feel I can mention it. Way, 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 way back. And they did not pre-discuss, and he went in for that smash. It was just like a palm. It was a whole palm. It was just like,
Nosebleed?
probably. I mean, she
Amazing.
Yeah.
whipped the eye, walked out,
What?
not out of the
Not
wedding,
still together.
into the back. I don't know. I haven't checked.
Makeup's ruined.
Yeah.
Ruined. Walked out into the bathroom. Probably didn't come out for 45 minutes.
She's just in there
Urine.
eating the cake.
I mean, it's-
it's pretty good, actually.
I mean, the moral of that story was pre-discuss with your spouse, your future spouse. What's this dynamic?
So, again, hot or not, just has to be,
it's a mutual.
a
It's got to
mix-up?
be a discussion.
yeah.
I mean, I would say probably not because I feel like I've been saying not a lot, but not because unless you know that there is a makeup artist still there, that face is ruined for the
Right.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand. I don't think grooms, particularly, this is where this happens. I mean, I've never had it happen with any of my same-sex couples. I feel like there's more understanding there. But with a groom and a bride, where this happens is a groom probably doesn't understand how much that makeup costs. I
Right,
mean, it's
right.
usually probably up to $500 for the
Right.
day. And it's you
Right.
just wipe, now she has to wipe it off her face. So most people will say no, no to the smash.
All right. This is my last one.
Okay.
Taking the garter off with your teeth.
Is that still a thing?
Oh, I for sure did it. I think it still is.
I mean, if you did it, yeah.
Then it
no,
has to be cool still.
It's definitely still a thing. And I will say, just hearing all of my couples say that they don't want a garter anymore, a garter toss, that it's definitely a not now. And also, your granny's there,
Right.
and your parents are there. Maybe your little brother's there. Your niece.
And the best part is that when you're the groom, you just spend way more time than like you need to in there.
Yeah. And also,
Just because you know it's uncomfortable for
and
Granny.
also, like, the dresses, like, there's just different. Now, usually, like, if we do a garter, there's 2. Okay.
2
Did you-
garters?
yeah. I don't,
Oh no, I just
yeah.
had one and it
No,
was way
there's
up
usually
there.
2. There's the snatching one, and then there's one for later. Is how it's usually done.
Nice.
And the one for later can be pulled down a little bit more. But I have had like a strip show before with a garter to us. Like he like did the whole like
The
after
male?
Magic Mike came out.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the influence, and like it was like pulling off, and you know the
Muscular guy? Was
lapping
he
and-
muscular or no?
I don't. You know, he was tall, but I don't know if it was like something where it was like, wow. Like, yeah, at that point you kind of just turn away.
Body fat level was a
Turn
little
away.
too high.
And I'm just like, oh, it's happening. Like, turn away. And then my girls are like, TikTok. I'm like, no, not this. Not this.
So you knew it was happening.
I don't know. I usually don't know when the dance is happening.
Oh.
But I knew the garter toss was happening.
So he didn't
And,
say like, hey, just
no,
as a
like-
heads up, I'm gonna strip.
The groom never debriefs and says, by the way, you know, I'm going all
Grooms
out.
just go rogue.
Yeah. But the going under and grabbing, it's an awkward moment for all, I find. So I personally would not
Okay.
vouch for that. But, you know, people still do it, and it's a tradition. Something I've actually been pitching to people, which is a little bit less, you know, up the dress, is the baby toss, which people have been eating up. Yeah.
What's that?
I know you want to know.
Yeah.
So what this is that because, you know, like you said, people are getting married a little later. So like a lot of people are already married. And so I have been pitching the baby toss, and what that is, I had one couple do it like years ago, and I was like, this is so funny. And some people do it and some people don't. You get a faux baby doll and you wrap it up, and you don't tell anybody that you're doing this. And the couple goes on stage, and the band or the MC is like, everybody to the dance floor, like all the couples, like we're gonna do like the neck, like this, like the surprise basically. And then they toss the gift into the crowd, and people like go wild for it because they're like, I want this prize.
Yeah.
And they wrap it and they unwrap it, and then he goes like, you're the next to get knocked up. And it's like
Wow.
people just like eat it up.
Just putting that in the environment.
Yeah. Now, I would say, like, depending on where you want your wedding
Your
to land,
18-year-old brother dresses.
Yep.
you
Or
might
your
be
mom
thoughtful
catches it.
of this. And then people are like, oh my God, I don't want this. So I've had that a couple times. If people like really want that garter bouquet toss thing, but they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They've done the baby toss, and it's quite comical. You know, I think it depends on like, what is the caliber of your wedding? Like, how did you want to set this up? You know what you want decision-wise if you want that.
I feel like a lot's changing. So are there flower girls anymore or just flower bros? Like what's
I have
the percentage?
had flower. There's definitely flower girls, and they're more popular.
Still- okay,
Still a thing.
good.
Flower grandmas. I've had that.
Oh,
really
that's
cute.
new.
Really cute. I've had a flower cowboy before, and he like fanny packed it.
Yep.
Cowboy hat. It was great.
Shirtless chaps. No,
On a
Not that
horse.
extreme.
horse.
And then I've had, of course, like the normal flower girl. Like the flower grandmas, I think are really
Yeah, that's good.
really cute. I've had it before, and it was just, I wanted to cry.
What about guest favors? Because is that like, it almost feels like we're at a birthday party for kids where it's like, I
Yeah.
don't want your monogrammed wedding cloth for my house.
That's
or
great
whatever
to
you,
know that you don't want that.
right?
Because I won't pitch
Do
you
you agree?
anymore. No, I find that favors have definitely gone a little bit on the out.
And what are some cool ones? Like, can you think of
A
any?
lot of my couples have leaned into the branding of their wedding still. So I will say that a lot of people have done matchbooks. Like they have been
Okay.
making a comeback. They used to be
That's all right. Yep.
like
Useful.
your parents probably had matchbooks at their wedding.
Yeah.
So those have become like a big thing, and it's like people collect those. Like they're cute, like they're easy. Put them in my pocket. I was a guest at a wedding last fall, and I was excited because I never like guest weddings. Like I am always like doing a wedding. So whenever I guest a wedding, I like love to observe like as a guest, like what is my instinct? Because
Yeah.
then it helps me build the actual wedding day. like and the proper guest experience for it. Because like when you get into your wedding mindset, you kind of just don't even remember like what do like the
Right.
humans like out there. So I was a human at this wedding, and I was like going in, and I was like observing like guest flow and like how did I like this and like what was it like, and I like loved collecting all these things. Like they had programs and they had I think they had matchbooks. They had like
Bottle
glasses and
openers.
hats. Yeah, no bottle openers there. And I was just like collecting all this stuff. But then I realized I didn't have like a purse for this because I
Right.
carried a mini bag, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that big. Like it was like, that's it.
Right.
And so I was like, where am I going to put all this stuff? And so then I was like, maybe I'll get it at the end. And then at the end, like things got cleaned up, and I was like,
Gone.
oh my God. So then I was stealing other guests' stuff that they were leaving behind. And I was like, I need this swag, And it was just like, okay. So like people don't really want to carry around all that stuff, or truly have it at the end when you like can take it away as you're going to your vehicle or to your Uber, and like make it like that. So like I do think like a matchbook, easy, small, compact, like have it out the whole night, grab.
Yeah.
Great.
Usable. I like that. That one makes
Easy.
sense.
Programs, people do weirdly
save
keep them,
those?
but a lot of people throw them away. So it's like decide how many trees you want to save that day. I don't know.
Right.
But they're helpful, especially if you have
During it, yeah.
information that say like, and next you're going to be headed to blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, this
Love a
was helpful.
yeah, love a program
Thank
during.
you. Now I know
Yes.
when everything's going to happen.
Yes.
And that was nice to have that timeline. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that, but I feel like that could be something worth noting for people out there. A type of timeline in that sense. Dance floor swag is huge right now.
Like that.
So like foam
Props.
glow, glasses,
Yeah.
light up cowboy hats, rally towels. We've done really well with rally towels with the USC fans.
Yep.
And that's great because you don't have to keep it, but it's like an activity for you that night, right? And then like if you want to keep it, you can, but like most people won't keep it unless they take the rally towel. So it's like it's not even like a gift anymore. It's like in experience gift in that moment that people are just like loving, right?
Into that. Okay.
Like, oh, an escort wall with like my name etched on this. Like I had a good friend of mine, we went to Mexico for a wedding, and she did these like laser cut limes shaped name tags and had my name on it. I was like, I'm eating this up. It came with a tequila shot.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, this is so cool. And like, I loved it, but it was like an in experience. Like she probably didn't expect me to keep it. I did.
You kept the lime?
Yes, I did. Because I was like, this is cool.
Dried up lime.
Scrap. No, it wasn't a real lime. It was like an
Oh, it was a
etching.
fake-
Yeah, it was like
oh.
it's acrylic. And I recently just decided to part ways with it because I did a move and a purge and everything. But I kept it.
All right.
And I was like, this didn't have to be a gift, but like it felt like a gift in the
But it
moment.
had your name on it, right?
It had my name on it.
Like if it just had the wedding date on it, would you want that?
No. I will say that I had a bride in recent, and a couple brides have done this, and it actually is cute. It's like an oyster shell, and it's an ornament, and it's like with your name, and then like people use that for their tree, but it doesn't have their name on it. So it's like non-customized. So usually like if it's a favor, I'm like, no. Now, I had a great bride a couple years ago, and she did like custom playing cards, and it did have their initials.
That's cool.
But that was cool. Like I still have those. I have them in my game section.
Is
and
it
like
photos of them like as
No.
the king and queen? Oh, that
no, it's like
That
their
would be amazing.
logo.
That would be
like
awesome.
it's like their branding.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is cute. Like, and it like it's functional still. But like a bottle opener, I agree. Like I don't know if I would keep that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would keep
Like a glass with
one
You know
glass.
what am I gonna do with that?
Yeah.
doesn't match.
No. And also like I've had someone try to do that before where they're like, oh, we don't need glassware. Like we're going to buy glasses for everyone and they're just going to have that glass. I'm like, no, they're not going to like carry, like unless you
Right.
have a lanyard attached to that glass, it's not going to work because like people are going to put that down. It's going to get cleaned. Catering's not going to know. Out it goes.
Right.
But like koozies, a lot of people do koozies as, as favors. I will say, like, people are getting really sick of koozies now. Like, they're like, I have so many
whole
koozies.
drawer of them at
Yeah,
home, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I have my wedding koozie, but, like, I secretly throw away our koozies.
Yeah.
I like
every
a
so often.
handful handful a month.
Use it. Like,
So
go
my
on the
husband,
boat.
like he just
He's
has
like,
these,
where's my favorite koozie?
he has these like we have these like bins of koozies. He never uses them, and like every once in a while, I'll just be like, like toss
Handful
it.
gone.
Like we don't need those.
Yep.
But yeah, but
I think the purse days getting smaller is a real inconvenience for
why?
men.
For men, yeah.
Why you don't have to hold it anymore?
No,
He never did.
well, yeah, I wouldn't be
mini
holding
bag?
it. No,
Oh,
like I remember my mom having a huge purse at all times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then for a long time, my wife had a really big purse at all
Yep.
times. But now the trend is going towards
Mini bags.
this little tiny bag. So I can't hand her any of my stuff
yeah.
to put in a purse.
I mean, I have a mini bag I can show you in my bag.
Yes.
you do a
you
double?
have you
Yeah.
have an appropriate
just-
size bag.
No,
I
no.
So
think.
you like de-size as you go.
Yeah, that's the size that I think
Goes
is nice.
down.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
no.
yeah.
Oh no, it's
What
too
are we gonna-
small.
down
You
to the
can't
mini
fit
bag.
anything in there.
Where's Randy going to put his G.I. Joes that he's carrying around?
But why do you want the purse to be bigger?
Well, just because I get things that I want, like at the cola rosé event.
Oh yes.
Right, they're giving you,
You wanted that
mugs
cup.
and cups, and they gave you one of those little towel
Towels,
things,
yeah.
and there was a photo of us from the photo booth, and I just
Right.
would have loved to just like
Stuff it in a
stuff
bag.
it all in there.
Well, I will say that the mini bag one helps your shoulders. You guys,
I know it's
Yeah.
not great
I
for
mean,
their
maybe-
spine. It is
for
healthier
the
for you
spine,
to help
hello.
do that.
I mean, of all people, you guys should be thankful for the bag transformation. But the mini bag, I have one that's really cute that I wear, and it's like the size of a business card. It's like that big, and in it fits a key for a car,
One single key.
one key,
Okay.
a couple credit cards.
Yep.
You know, could slide a couple hundies in there,
Hondies.
and then a lipstick.
That's all you need.
And your
Basics.
driver's license, because in
Oh,
case you get ID.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
It's a good argument. I think you're right on the like posture
Yeah.
outside of it. Just
You should actually have a line of mini bags for sale in the lobby, I
That's
think.
a good point. We used a photo of a woman carrying a big purse around
I had terrible shoulder problems
because of that.
because of my large bag holding.
Yep. Yep.
The tote.
Always the same side. Are you lefty or righty?
I'm a righty.
Okay. Give me an idea of a good wedding gift. Like if I'm attending a wedding,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
like what's the amount someone should spend? What's the like? And say you don't want to give cash. You doing like bread
Yeah.
maker? Like what do you
Bread
do?
maker.
I love a good blender and a bread maker.
Well, okay, so there's a couple thoughts here. One, if you haven't explored the site Zola, they're great.
Zola.
So like, yes, the Knot is great. I love them. You know, we do a lot of marketing with them. They're a really wonderful platform for vendors. But Zola came around when I got married. And so like, it's pretty new. And this platform did wedding websites. It now also does vendor profiles, which is kind of cool. But it also like would do the website and your registry in one. So like on the Knot, for example, or Minted, this is the problem I was seeing, and it could have changed in recent. I haven't looked. What I was seeing was if you wanted to register at Bed Bath & Beyond, which who doesn't want to use the gun? That's
Yep.
the only reason I went.
I have
And-
no clue
And they're
what
out
you're
of
talking
business
about.
now.
Oh, yeah, I know. I
But
had
yeah, I
some
know what
credit
you
I
mean.
couldn't use the other day. I was pretty upset.
Really?
Yeah, from my wedding.
6 years later.
So Bed Bath
know.
Beyond gift card.
So back in the day, you used to be able to go to Bed Bath & Beyond, and
Yeah.
they would give you'd be like, I'm
Little
getting
scanner.
married, and they'd be like, here's the gun.
Scan whatever you
and
want.
you would go ching ching, and then it would like have a like percentage thermometer
Yeah.
of how well you were doing. Well, I was at like 110% as soon as we walked out of the door, and I was like, oh, maybe I registered for too much. But back in the day, you'd have to take that link and put it as like a subcategory link on your website. You'd be like, click this link to get to the next
Yeah.
registry. Well, Zola came in and they were the first ones to do this, to my knowledge. They integrated the web, like the product from the web on their platform. So you could just go like add, and you're like adding nice things like Crate and Barrel, Pottery Barn, Le Creuset, Juliska, and you're adding these like name brand things that you would have wanted to get from the department store or on their website, but you don't have to add all these subcategories. So like your guests can just go and like scroll. So that was really
That's
cool.
nice.
I would think in terms of like gift giving,
Stick to the registry.
stick to the registry because that's what somebody wants, right? But also, like, you can tell a lot about a person by their registry because you also like know like what their kitchen color is going to be, like what the uniform of the house is going to look like. Like for me, I love buying as a person a gift that's going to be decorative in your house versus functional. Like if you register for like a really nice vase, I want that versus the stock pot.
Yeah.
So like I would want that, but that's me. But like maybe that person isn't.
But
like
don't
that,
get
right?
them art. Don't get them art that's not on their registry.
Right. Now, you are in the South, so like people love a good initial.
Really?
Okay. So you could still do that. But
That's so good. I know they're gonna love this. Let me They've never
Here's a
brought up this
painting,
tiger
yeah.
before, but I can tell that it's them.
a good initial. But I will say, like, the registry, I mean, the hope is that this person is putting a breadth of pricing on their gifts. I would say probably
Yeah, what's a good range?
a good range, like, would probably be anywhere from like 150 to 500. Let's say that's a pretty big range, but I would say probably most gifts come in around 200, 300. Like a lot of those gifts people register for are big ones.
Right.
And when you get married, I don't know if you guys experience this, but when you get married, like people usually buy you like the nicer, like the expensive gifts because it's like the one time they're going to get you this nice gift. So that's where I kind of see that coming into play because usually people are registering for these nicer things and people are kind of biting at them. So, because it's going to be like a nice, like one thing, but I'm seeing a lot of like money card gifts too. I also think it depends on where you're from. Like in the North, I think you get a lot of cash.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you do because like when like a lot of the people that came to our wedding from the North, like we got a ton of cash, but like people
Like nice Italian mafia money. Just
right. And so
slide in
then,
the pocket.
yeah, in a card, sealed. And so then, but like you get a lot of cash, I find. But then also, like in the South, I feel like like people love giving a gift.
Trinkets. Yeah.
Yeah. Vacuum.
A nice vacuum.
I agree.
Trinket vacuum.
I agree with the cash thing for sure. I always saw way more cash,
You did?
Back,
You
like
saw?
in the
You
North,
did?
in
Okay.
Canada.
Yeah.
but
I don't know why that is the case, but it is.
And don't you feel like if they have a registry, you have a big width of pricing, right? So it
You
starts
do.
at 150. You're like, all right, I'm going to do some 150 things.
Yeah.
I'm going to do some $900 things, and then people can
Right.
choose where they want to be. But all the 150 to 200 stuff gets scooped up by all the people who register first. So if
True.
you're too late, you get on there and there's only $900 options.
Well, then
So you got to
test
get
your
on there quick. You
friendship.
got to get on there quick.
Yeah. And also keep in mind, like, okay, something that I feel like people misunderstand a lot is like an engagement party. You do not need to get a gift. Like, it's not, you know,
what?
that's not like a thing. But a
Like a
shower,
bottle of wine?
you can. But a
Flowers.
shower, you do get a gift.
Like a baby shower.
And also,
Or a wedding shower.
Bridal shower.
no, bridal shower.
Oh, bridal
Yeah.
shower.
So, like,
So you have an engagement party and a bridal shower.
yes. Mhm.
Okay,
I mean, normally you would.
Okay.
I mean, we can do it for your anniversary
Obviously
party.
Yeah, gotta coach them.
But I will say that also something people don't realize is like every shower gift you get can go towards like the collection of what your big gift contribution is. Like,
Yeah.
don't feel like you have to get a shower gift and then the $200 to $500 gift. You can get like, let's say there's 3 showers. Sometimes there are. You know, you can get like a couple gifts and then it amounts to what your spend will be. And then you don't have to get a wedding gift because you've already got 3 shower gifts. Like that is something in the, like that people often kind of misunderstand.
I get the feeling that grooms get ignored more than
A
they
lot.
should.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you talk to many grooms in the planning process?
I will
was wondering
say,
that.
I will say, like we definitely have a lot of bride and groom duos, or you know, groom and groom duos. We definitely see grooms come in on the planning, but if not, then they're completely gone, and it's the mom and the daughter duos. We have
Yeah.
a ton of mom and daughter duos. So it's like you're either in one boat or the other,
Right.
and rarely do I have full families, but I get them. Like 5 people
Yeah.
come in to every meeting, to every call, everything. which is really sweet. They're very collaborative, but I only see that like a couple times a year.
Have you ever had somebody say something just off the wall rude to you?
Oh yeah.
Can
But you
give
just
any
kind of like, you just let it kind of go like that.
Do you have any examples that you can share with us?
Gosh, no.
Not on air.
Because I feel like it's this most stressful day and they're spending the most money of their life.
Right.
And it's about to rain. There's clouds in the sky.
True.
And they've been fighting with their whoever.
Well, what I can say is that, like, I feel that if you're going to be a planner, you also need to have taken some like psychology classes. Like, you are also like a therapist in
Right.
some way sometimes, because like for example, like when COVID hit, people would like, it'd be like week 2 and we'd be like talking about the cancellation and they'd be like, when do you think it's going to end? And I'm like, well, I don't know more than the health association or anybody. I don't know more than the next guy, but like I can give you an estimate. Like I could give you kind of an idea based on the
Right.
news I'm getting right now. But like, does anybody know? Like, and there's some people, people do look for you for advice. So like having having that mindset where you can understand what they're going through is important. Like I find that, yes, like when people get into weddings, I will say, like what I tell people is like, typically you're like a completely different person when you're in planning usually. Like I get to see like every 50 shade of you and your behavior.
Interesting choice.
Usually.
That was an interesting choice.
What are you doing here?
I get to see like every level of your behavior and like your tolerance level usually. And like, granted, like we have like really awesome couples. Like we usually have like amazing planning experiences, but there are people that get so stressed out over planning and you kind of sit back in your chair, your swivel chair, and you're kind of like, I just don't think this was made for you. Like you
Yeah.
should have eloped for sure.
Right.
Or had a micro wedding. But it's like this pressure of having this large party for your, like with your family and friends, or maybe the pressure from your parents. And that's hard. But like, I will say like that is something that is unique. It's like you kind of have to have a bit of a tough skin in this industry because people kind of while out on you. And then afterwards, they're like friends with you again. And you're like, oh, yeah, like I'm cool too. We're friends again.
Yep.
No
None of those
problem.
things that you said to me, I'm hanging on to
like,
anymore.
yes, you pulled my hair that night when I was down on the ground because you wanted one of the certain glow items, but we're good. My hair came back. Like it's all good. Like, so it's a unique moment where like I'm sure nobody has seen that version of that person before behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So, you have to kind of go in with that mindset and with that thick skin because also like, especially like Charleston, for example, like there's a lot of people from the north who have moved there and a lot of people who have moved from the north and who are used to like the way a northern wedding is done. So it's kind of like this integrated, like this hybrid wedding style. It's not like the deep South wedding in Charleston. And the deep South wedding is completely different than the Charleston wedding. And like, it's just, you have to really understand how to work with people who are coming from different areas in the industry, but they have different expectations of those areas too. So it's just really interesting. Like I might be like, this is a bad example, but I might be like, oh, like, let me go ahead and get a riser on that table. And then like the rental company's like, we don't know what that is. And I'm like, really? Because like it's like what raises it like raises the bar to make like a facade. And they're like, oh, you want a crate with like a block on top? And I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to call it, yeah, that's fine. That works too. So it's like we have the same things, but the lingo is different. And it's like understanding what each area wants and needs in terms of like professionalism and production and time and all of that really does matter. So like really knowing your areas is important, which makes it interesting if you're a destination person and doing destination weddings.
Right. So once somebody gets engaged, what are the steps to work with you? Like how quickly should they get a hold of you? What sort of, is there a list they should be thinking about? Dates, DJs, venues, and like what does that all look like?
Yeah, I think that something to note is like I said, after COVID, like a lot of people were doing like 15-month out planning sphere, which was really intense. I will say it's gone back down to the 12-month zone now. So like people definitely are planning a year ahead. I would say typically, like if you get engaged, like let's say you get engaged today.
Yep.
And you come to me and you're like, I want to get married in December. We can do that.
You can pull it off.
Yeah, like that's fine. That's not like, let's say, I love an 8-month engagement. 6-month, you better not be indecisive. Like if you're going to have a 6-month engagement,
Your DJ might be booked for all you know.
definitely. You definitely need to be flexible on the vendors. And it's almost like you need to hire the professional, like a planner, and let them take the wheel almost kind of like so that they can kind of reach out to like the people they know quickly and get your stuff done. Because like that's not a leisurely planning process. But if you want the leisurely kind of like systematic planning process, 12 months, great. 8 months, definitely doable. A lot of people right now are reaching out for April of next year. So this area books out with March, April, May, the heaviest, and then it goes to September, October, November. The other months are a little bit less heavy. So that's also something to note. If you want a heavy season or not heavy season, like where do you book your wedding? April this year is the first month to be booked up, and then it'll go to May, and then it'll go to March. So it's like people are jumping what part of the spring they want. So right now, so we're like not even at a year for April. So that should tell you like people are starting to book, but I still have people booking for October, November, and December. So it just depends on where you are in your planning process. But what we would do is we would hop on, talk about what you want. I'd make sure we can make it happen in the time span. And then we would get started right away with vendor recommendations and budgeting. Nice. So that'll be the first thing we do.
And then how did they reach out to you? How did they make that happen?
Oh, well, we have a lot of ways. The phone.
Personal called the phone.
Do you give personal cell phone out?
I do use my personal cell phone. I mean, I've thought about should I have two, but I feel like that's a lot to juggle. Like I don't get bothered by constant communication, but if I was someone that did, I would have two phones. Yeah. So we have the email, the company email, which is just the company name at Gmail. We have the website. It has a portal on there. You can reach out and submit to the contact form. You can reach out to us on any of our social platforms. We have people monitor those daily. So we have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You can reach out on those. I don't know how you message on Pinterest, but if you can make it happen, great. Someone's on there looking for it. And then you can also, call, but really the best way to reach out if interested would be through the submission form on the website. It's the most uniform. You get your immediate kind of response because that's what we look at first. And then we'll always direct you on social to like one of the emails and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So Alexandra Madison weddings.com.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just search that on Google.
And there is no Madison. Sometimes people ask me that. I'm Madison too. Like my middle name is Madison. Like sometimes people are like, oh, and where's Madison? I'm like, no, right here.
Double name, yep.
Yeah.
What are you using to stay organized with all this? Are you a paper person? Do you have like a spreadsheet?
So I will say that we have an amazing platform for planners, and it's called Aisle Planner that we use. That's what we use for our couples to keep them organized and give them like an online portal.
Updates and all that, yeah.
Updates, checklist, design boards, like Vision Studio, guest list management, contact form, contract uploading, great. we on our internal side do use our like mainly Google Home front. So we have, you know, a lot of a Google Drive with the whole system built into it. We use a lot of our documents so that they can always be like kind of on the cloud, if you will, like available online at all times. And then, you know, our planners have different like systems for keeping track of each client and like what they're doing for that. So I would say like mainly online. As you get into paper, like it gets a bit messy, you know. My team always is like, I can't read your writing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you can. And they're like, I'm like, that says 10, obviously. They're like, does it? So, you know, I find that digital is really like the key for us on the way to go. And I like love my online calendar via like my phone, as well as, you know, my mail app, and it has categorization in there. So we're definitely digital girlies.
More digital. Mm-hmm. Because how many vendors are you guys coordinating per wedding, would you say? Like, what's the average number of vendors involved?
Anywhere from like 12 to 18.
Wow.
So like there's definitely like maybe 10, like anywhere 10 and up. There's never like just 3.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have your venue, your catering, your bar, your florals, your entertainment, hair and makeup, cake, all of that. And we have a really awesome kind of template that we build out that has like a full vendor profile. And we send these, you know, with a timeline and all of that. And we send that to the vendors. We have a vendor guide, and then we have a bridal party guide. So we're able to really break it down so that everybody's getting what they need in terms of being like fully in the know on the day. That's the goal.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then anything new hotness in the wedding space. So you mentioned the baby toss. That's new to me. There was like the 360 photo booth, which seems like that's kind of like the norm right now. What else is swings? I saw swings.
I would say customization. So like custom drink toppers. So like dissolvable drink toppers are really cool. So like we've done that, where it dissolves on the top of your champagne or your espresso martini glass, and it's like your monogram or your name, and it's like an experience. Also, like we have done recently, which I am loving, is the custom burger brander. So we can like brand your buns,
cool.
and your late night snack has your brand on it, and people are like, what?
Yep.
So like they're loving that. You know, anything experience based is so hot right now. So like, in December, we had a video confessional booth. So instead of like a guest book, like you went into the video booth and you like made a confession, and like the videographer makes it into a video series later. So like that's cool.
Whoa, what?
I know.
sweet.
What were people confessing to?
I know.
sins.
I haven't watched it.
There's a priest.
That would be insane.
Yeah. And then also like there's a company called After the Tone that does like the recorded phone messages. So instead of, again, a guest book, you pick up the phone, you record a message for the couple, and then they get it on like a vinyl or like a zip drive track.
Yeah.
And they have those voice memos for the rest of, you know, the life, basically. Because you have these
cool,
photos, but like something that people really like about that is like, let's say like your granny leaves you one and she happens to pass away like soon after. Like you now have her voice
That is cool.
that you miss, right? So like that's been kind of really cool and sentimental as well.
And I've seen like the live painting too. Like people are
Live painting. I've been also loving venue etchings. I mean, sorry, not venue, fashion etching. So like you as a guest can get like your outfit watercolor etched onto paper by this artist, and then you can take that home. So it's like another experience.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of a photo booth, you're getting a piece of art of you in your
is
fab
cool.
outfit made, and then you take it home, like you and your husband.
Do you guys do theme weddings? Like Halloween,
Star
furries,
Wars.
Star Wars, Star Trek.
Okay.
Furries, yeah.
No. So I mean,
You
we
would.
could. We haven't really had anyone. I will say, like, if someone lands on Valentine's Day or the holidays, or I've not had anyone do this for Halloween, but like if someone lands on a holiday, they're like, what can we like pseudo sneak in? Like Cinco de Mayo is a big one. We've had that, and like people like we do something really cool and creative with, you know, maybe a late night taco truck or a margarita.
Yeah.
Or I had a good friend and she did like mini Patron bottles that had like margarita mix in it with like a straw, and like that was really
That's
fun for
cool.
the guests. So something like that is kind of fun. I do throw myself themed parties all the time, so it's like kind of like, yes, like, do I do that? Of course.
Just like a nice little weekend
For our
thing.
friends, yeah, like this in 2 days or whatever, 3 days, we're doing Galentine's party for our supper club. You know, something
Supper
like that. Like my birthday every year is a different theme. Like last year I had Barbie rodeo and we had a giant carousel horse. Like that was cool.
That's sweet.
The year before that we had like a bathtub. There was no theme with that. It was just disco.
Just nudity.
Supper is Canadian, I think.
Is it?
You would say dinner, right?
yeah,
my
but
whole
I-
family says
Would you
supper.
say
My
dinner club?
grandparents-
Oh.
Yeah, my grandparents would say supper.
Maybe it's a northern thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, dinner's the pretty normal now.
Sometimes I say things and like my good close friends are like, oh, now I understand like why you say like the wrong thing or like say things backwards because like you're Canadian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I guess that's why.
I get that every day.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so you know, yes, we could do a theme, but normally we don't get a request for a theme. Like I had a couple, this was really sweet. They love Star Wars and it was a really elegant wedding. And what we did for the design is we just like implemented it small ways throughout. So like we had like a mini Darth Vader like figurine on the back of the cake, and it was like this beautiful cake, and then on the back it was like the figurine, or like we actually had like custom ice cube molds made of like the Death Star, and so it was like
Yeah.
a sphere, and like that was like in everyone's whiskey glass, and like that was cool if you knew what was happening, right? So like small subtle things like that are incorporated that, you know, if you have that passion, like that's how we're doing it.
Sweet.
Yeah, tasteful.
We could ask so many more questions.
You can
I
keep
feel
going.
like.
Yeah.
I got two quick ones though.
Fulfilling my anchor dream life.
Well, I need
You're crushing it.
I need to know your thoughts on bachelorette parties.
Oh yeah,
Like just
they're
in-
massive now. Like the themes.
Yes, and like so some women love going on. Some women are like, "What are we doing?" Because half the people they don't know.
Yeah.
They can't stand like the price and the involvement.
Well, I will say they've just gotten bigger and more now. Like I feel like when I had my bachelorette party, I didn't have like a theme every
Right,
night.
just
Like now
scrounge
it's like
everybody together.
tequila sunrise, like till death do us part, and like everyone has an outfit every night.
Yes.
There's like decorations for every night. You know, maybe you have an in-house chef come in. You know, you have like bottle service. You know, there's so many different things you can do. I mean, I think it depends on your friend group, but I am loving currently the creativity that I'm seeing with the bachelorette parties. I think that it like kind of brings like
They
a really
moving away
fun.
from? Are they moving away from wieners?
They're moving away from wieners.
Really, it's more like
I
fancy.
know.
Okay.
I have had several people who say like no penises.
Not a
And I'm like,
lot.
really? Yeah. I'm like, but I get it. Like it's now more of a
like
creative
tattoos, I've seen-
sphere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that it's really fun, and the themes are really creative. Like I advise for sorority on campus, and like I'm like involved in like recruitment and like that bid day kind of thing. And like it's just like mini bid days over and over
Yeah.
again. And I'm like, we're living this dream out again and again and again.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun, it's entertaining. I mean, I think you definitely need to go to somewhere that like welcomes a bachelorette vibe. Like I went to Arizona last year, and like, wow, like I never realized that there was a bachelorette Barbie land out there
Is
in
that
the
Scottsdale?
States.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah. I walked into like, it would be like, oh, hey, bachelorette. Like, oh, hey. And like, you'd be like walking across the street. Like it was a Mecca. It was amazing.
And Nashville, yeah.
Yeah, Nashville. Charleston has become really popular. Savannah's become really popular. But if you're going somewhere like that doesn't have that on a constant level, like you maybe don't want to go all themey out because
Sure.
like it's not going to be the same expectation as you would if you're going to one of those cities, right?
Yeah.
So like I had a bride recently go, I think it was Montana, and they went like snowshoeing and husky riding, and I was like, that sounds so cool. But it was
Yeah.
like obviously like a little bit more elegant vibes. So it was like a different angle on a bachelorette party.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last question was top wedding songs. Anything like new? Anything that? Like what are you looking forward to hear, Adam?
Oh, interesting. Wow. I think that it really goes. Okay, so recently a lot of people have been requesting the Pink Pony song.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm seeing
That
that
sounds
a
right.
lot. in the summer, like I was always like going up to the DJ and I was like, is Murder on the Dance Floor playing tonight? Because like I wanted to play. And so like things like really catchy in the moment songs, like anything that's popular on the radio, you're gonna hear it there. But like Sweet Carolina, like all the classic Southern,
Whitney,
like
I want to dance with somebody.
Whitney, Shania Twain, like you see all of that.
The Macarena.
No,
No,
not
is
anymore.
that gone now? Oh, I thought that was a classic that would live on.
You can add that to your anniversary
Oh,
list.
I would.
Yeah.
All right, my last question
Yeah.
is about wedding movies.
Oh,
Have you seen Wedding Crashers?
yes.
And there's this theme in there about the guys always trying to pick up the bridesmaids and the brides, always a bridesmaid, never a bride, and that kind of like dynamic.
27 dresses.
For sure.
Yeah.
Is that playing out at all now, or is it as people get older, I feel like they're more kind of established and married. Like a
Right.
wedding with 30-year-olds would be different than a wedding with a whole bunch of 22-year-olds.
Right. Well, I will say that I met my husband at a wedding.
What?
I know, you're shocked.
nice.
Yeah.
Did he have a whole plan? Was that part
Where
of it?
at? In
He
the
asked me out
States?
7 times that night. Because obviously I said no.
And
I
on
was
the
like, I'm
seventh-
working.
The 7th one, you're like, all right, I'm going to do this.
I know. I was like, okay, I guess we can, we can go to drinks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I will say that I'm not as like close, like I'm not like in with the wedding party on the back scene as much. So I don't see these like silent get-togethers happen. Usually when I see them is when I'm coordinating the ceremony and I'm like, you're paired with you and you're paired with you. And it's so cute because like usually like they have never met the sides and they come together. I'm like, okay, walk and be natural. Like link arms, like, and then they're like, hey, I'm Sally. And it's like, hi, I'm Jake. And I'm like, they just met there. And like, that's what I'm seeing in that moment. So I'm not necessarily seeing these like get-togethers
The
if it's
romance,
happening.
yeah.
But I would say you're right. Like I'm not, obviously it's not big enough for me to see it happening. Yeah.
Nice.
That's good. Well, this has been great. Thank you so
Great.
much. This was so fun.
This was fun. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody go check her out. You can just, Google Alexandra Madison Weddings.
Yeah,
Send the
Instagram,
link
whatever
in
you
there.
want.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Great.
Thanks.
We're here for the health of it.
For the health of it.